All right, so you should have done something like this, where you said public int celebrate birthday, and all you have to do is say age plus plus. When we celebrate a birthday, we turn a year older. And I'm just going to say return age. So just so that whatever calls this may want to use what the age is after that. So I can say Chris dot so later this in the new year, I'll be celebrating my birthday. I'm in no rush, but let's say int age equals Chris dot celebrate birthday. So if I print out my age, at that point I should be 32. So that's what I should have returned for that method. And let me change the toString so it actually, yeah, let me actually get rid of this. So I'm just going to print Chris. So I'll see, okay, when I call this, I get 32 is what's returned, and then actually it's retained in the object because I actually say age plus plus. So that's really like saying age equals age plus 1. So actually the object remembers that I added 1 to the age. And so when it goes to call the toString method, it actually is going to print out that 32. So it retains that state change. All right, cool. Now, what if I want to keep track of the number of birthdays I've celebrated for all my students? Okay. So here's where we actually don't want to use an instance variable. So the number of birthdays that I celebrate across all students, that's not something that should be tied to a particular student, right? That's something that's really at the class level, thinking of all the objects of the instance student. So instead, I'm going to make a static variable. So that's what this keyword static means. So I'll say public static num birthdays celebrated equals 0. So we'll start off, we haven't celebrated any birthdays. Oh, whoops, of course I need to give it a type. So it's int, it's going to be a whole number. Okay, so at the beginning, I haven't celebrated any birthdays. But we'll just say every time this method is called, then we celebrate another birthday, right? So we'll just say num birthdays celebrated plus plus. Okay. So now if I go, so I happen to celebrate my birthday, we'll also say Celia.celebrate birthday. And we don't have to, I mean, it returns the age, but we don't have to remember it there. That was just to show you. It'll be retained in her object no matter what. So, and actually get rid of this too. So we can just say Chris.celebrate birthday, Celia.celebrate birthday. And now I can also create a static method. So I'll say public static void print celeb info, or celebration info. So what that method will do is it will print system.out.println. There have been num birthdays celebrated birthdays. Okay, so now if I say, I do this, so I say Chris.celebrate birthday, Celia.celebrate birthday, and now I say student, so I say the class name. See, and now it actually shows me the things that are available at the class level. So it's number of birthdays celebrated and print celebration info. I could actually just say system.out.println student.numBirthday celebrated and take a moment and pause and try to think what would that print. And so what you'll see is that this will print 2, right? Because I've celebrated 2 birthdays, and when I did that, I updated this static variable. So even though this is an instance method of a particular object, I can actually update a static variable, which is really part of a class, not tied to a particular object. So I can refer to static variables from within objects. But if I want to reference them outside of the class, I have to say the name of the class dot the name of the variable. Now, of course, I could also make use of this method I made, which formats it a little better. So I could say student dot print birthdays or print celebration info. And now when I run this, it'll say there have been 2 birthdays. And let's say Chris ages a lot, unfortunately. So we'll say for int I equals 0, I is less than 10, I plus plus. So who knows where I'll be 10 years from now and where we'll all be. But let's just say that Chris happened to have gone through 10 more birthdays. So now when I print, I've actually celebrated 12 birthdays, right? Okay. So it's keeping track of that for us with this instance method, which updates the static variable. So here's where I can highlight something very important about what we call a concept we call an object-oriented program called information hiding. So I didn't really harp on this too much last time, but notice how I gave these a private designation here. So this is the first time I've really done this. For those of you who have me 173, I didn't really talk about this as much. Usually everything is public. So let's just see what happens if I do the following. So what if I, instead of letting that be the job of the object method, what if I try to do this manually where I say, okay, I want Chris to celebrate a birthday, so I'll just say chris.age++. So what is it going to say? It's going to say age has private access in student. Okay, so it's not going to let me do that. If I try to run this, it's not going to let me. Okay, so that's a syntax error technically. Well, I can fix that by just saying public int age, and then I can maybe change these to public as well, but I'll just keep the age for now. Okay, and there the error went away. So now if I print Chris, system.out.println Chris, now it'll say, I started off as 31, but now it'll say 32. Okay, so cool. All right, so why don't I just do it that way? I mean, I can see what's going on here. Why did I have to go through all this trouble to make a method to just add 1 to the age, right? Well, now what if I want to print out this information, system.out.println, or how about I just call that method again? I'll just say the student class dot print celebration info. So if I run this, it's going to say, yeah, his name is Chris, his age is 32, so it looks like he's going through birthday, but now the class is not aware of that. Because I would have to remember, if I did that, to say, well, I really should also say student.number birthday celebrate ++. And that'll work, but this is starting to get a little messy, right? Because I have to remember, every time I add 1 to their age, I have to remember to also add 1 to the birthday. And that's not something I should have to worry about, right? I really, when I'm here, this is something that's really internal to the student class. Not even something I necessarily need to know if I'm just working with a Chris student or a Celia student. It's really something that the student class should keep track of across all of the students. So this is where information hiding comes into play. So really, it should not be the job of something outside of an object of type student to update their age. We really should go through this method of saying Chris.celebrate birthday. We really should go through that method to update the age. And so then, everything is maintained properly. So we update it there. So this will help you to stay more organized when you think, well, what variables should it really be the responsibility of the object itself to update, and what variables could I maybe update outside of the object? And usually you don't want to update any variables of the object outside of the object. You want to create methods that do it for you so that you can take care of other state as you do that. So this is a pretty simple example where the only state that we're taking care of other than the age is just a count of all the birthdays. But there are certainly more complicated things you could do, and I'll show an example in a moment. But this does introduce one problem for us, which is, what if I just want to get the age and store it in a variable? So I can't do that anymore. So what if I just wanted to pull out the age? So int Chris age. Like, it's annoying for me to deal with all of Chris. So what if I just try to say int Chris age is equal to Chris.age? So that's not going to work for the same reason. Age is still private. So usually you have to make what are called getter methods. So I would say make a method. We'll say public int get age. That just returns the age. Okay, so it's going to return it to you. And now you can use it here. But see, you can't change it yourself. You have to go through this method celebrate birthday, or you have to set it in the constructor. And you could, if you wanted to start over, you could also make a method set age. So I could say public void set age int new age. So I could say age equals new age. So if it makes sense in your design, you could actually allow the user of your class to have an object set something from outside of that class. But let me get rid of that for now, because I'm just going to make it so that you can only change your age through a birthday, and otherwise you're just going to get it. Okay. So you have to make these getters then if you want to access the information from the private variables. Okay. So what I want you to do in your exercise actually is I want you to make, okay, I'll start you off here. So let's add another variable here, which is the class year. So we'll say private string class year. And so I'll also keep that in the constructor here. So we'll say class year equals CY. Okay, so when I construct these, let me say, okay, let's say that Chris is a sophomore and Celia is a junior. And let's see, why doesn't it like this? Type of student and CY is erroneous. Whoops, I need to provide the type. Okay, there we go. So it's a string that I'm passing in here. Okay, now we're good. All right, so I'm going to do something else similar to celebrate birthday, but it doesn't necessarily happen at the same time. So I'll say public, and it can be a void, it's fine. Public void advance class year. So I'll say if class year dot compare to, so this is what we have to use to compare strings. We can't say equals equals, we actually really need to use compare to. So if class year dot compare to freshman equals 0, then we're going to be a sophomore, right? And very similar things for sophomore and junior and senior. So else if the class year is a sophomore, then we'll change them to a junior. Else if they're a junior, we'll change them to a senior. Else if they're a senior, we'll change them to graduate. All right, so let's just test that out real quick, and I'll add something to the toString to make use of it. So I'll say name, age, and then I'll say class year, colon, plus class year. Okay. So let's now see what happens when we print out Chris. So let me get rid of that stuff for a second. So I'll print out Chris and then I'll print out Celia again. Print line Celia. All right, so it says Chris, age 31, class year sophomore, Celia, age 30, class year junior. And what if I have Chris advance a class year? So if I say Chris dot advance class year, now Chris should also be a junior. Ah, so it looks like I made a mistake. So what did I say? I needed to do the else if. Ah, be careful about that, yes. Okay, so now when I go back to the driver, it should work fine. So when I click run file, I see, okay, cool. Chris's class year started off as a sophomore, but now it's a junior because I've called this method. Let's call it again just to make sure we can go from junior to senior and then from senior to graduate. So we'll say, you know, he had some advanced credit, maybe he took a class over the summer. He didn't go up in age, but we called this method 3 times. That's why we are going to have these decoupled from the age and the year, class year. So, all right, so cool. Now he graduated. Now I should probably give a warning if I try to go past it, right? I should probably say system.out.println already graduated. All right, so if I call this one more time, then it should print a warning. And it doesn't do anything. So it's already graduated. Okay, but so he's graduated. So that's how you deal with that. So as a little exercise now, I would like you to do something kind of similar to what we did for adding one to their age, but also make a static variable that keeps track of how many people have graduated. And then we will reconvene and talk a little bit more about some other class things.